Hello and greetings from Los Angeles, sunny Los Angeles. Hoping that you all have a beautiful time, although I know it's very difficult to create a beautiful time. But then again, my hope is that together we can bring some happiness and joy to everyone's life and make it as good as possible. Perfect is not possible, but we can always come to an understanding that things are the way they are. We have power over changing them to a certain degree, and then if we cannot change them, we just wait for another opportunity or situation that we can rectify it and go forward. Which brings us back to something that I would like to start again with every one of you. And that topic is going to be the topic of all of our programs. It has always been, but I want to define it a little bit more starting today, because we always talk about balance and how wheel of well-being is a center for balancing. Those of you who have just joined us, I'm Dr. Daniel Sadiq. I'm a clinical psychologist and a licensed marriage and family therapist in Los Angeles, working at Wheel of Well-being, bringing certain balance and capability to cope with life and the situations in life for everyone who comes to seek that kind of a joyful presence. If you look for the word that covers it all, I would suggest let's go to flow. And then as of today, I would like to dedicate everything that we do within this program to the topic of flow, which I will explain to you why flow is such an important and integral part of this conversation every time that we come together, and we need to discuss it from different aspects. The importance of flow is the possibility of going to different directions at ease. So actually what stops us from growth, from happiness, from feeling good, from being comfortable is the lack of the flow, or stagnation, or places that we are stuck and we cannot move on. If you look at any system, let's say look at rivers. When you look at the river, when the river is flowing down the stream, this flow is creating what it brings life to everything around it. If the flow is stopped by a big tree or a big boulder falling into this river, so obviously you can see how the flow is stopped and the direction changes. If the water is going down to a place that it's low and it's not possible to have continuation of the flow, then that water would go to waste, would just evaporate or create some sort of a swamp or some sort of a body of water that is not only it's not useful, it's going to be stagnated and even not good for the environment. It would bring a lot of bacteria and other non-useful context into the environment. But then again, if the flow continues and let's say the water follows through after the tree or after the rock, this flow is continuously going forward. If the flow is strong enough, it can just go over any obstacle, anything that is on the way, and go down the stream. So all of this is about the system. Every system requires this kind of flow, and as human being, each one of us is required to understand what is on the way of our flow. Now, this flow, as you have heard from me before in the concept of wheel of well-being and balancing the wheel. The issue is that there are so many different components to life that we need to pay attention to their stagnation. So in any of these areas that we feel not moving forward, we feel stuck, we feel that there are some obstructions are on our way, then it is our personal responsibilities to remove the obstacles, to remove the particles that are stopping us from going down the stream that we should be going. Now, if you remember, we talk always about the physical part of us being the very first component, the foundation, where we start being and this flow. If I want to even take you back before the physicality, let's go back to the creation of this earth and this land, which again we can all the way trace it back to a Big Bang theory and how out of nothingness everything has been kind of created. And then let's say how life on earth has begun. Well, we all know that the meteor at some point of time, trillions of years ago, has impacted earth by a very fast and very strong move, bringing some impact into our Mother Earth and impregnating it with an energy, a force that has been a celestial, a force that has come from the skies above. And then this force has penetrated the physicality of Earth, all of its elements, all of its factors that they were there. And now from the combination of that energy with this energy of Earth, we as human beings have evolved from a cell in the bottom of the oceans into amphibians, into reptiles, into mammals, and to who we are today. Within that process, the evolution has created through trillions of years a system that this system is from the beginning to end of it still happens in pregnancy when we are in utero. The same process happens from the creation all the way to birth, and then from birth on we continue this growth to where we are today and we're discussing. So the background of this is a flow in time, in energy, in the ways that we have come together, and this way of processing of this information from the origin of it, from that creation point of life on earth until now, has evolved and evolved and evolved into where we are today and how we can see ourselves and our environment. So you can see how all throughout our existence this flow has been with us and has moved us forward to where we are today. In positive psychology, the concept of flow is really important because this positive energy of flow, it's like a Zen position. It's a focused position. It's a place that we're out of our conscious mind and we're into the subconscious mind, to our essence, to where this flow has been really given to us. It's the gift that we all have inside of us. But as I said earlier, this flow is blocked by certain external elements that get on the way. So just like the river that we were talking about, our nervous system has had a growth or a flow in a positive direction, making us more sensitive, more intelligent, more capable, and more understanding of situations. So if that flow has ever got stuck, it's been our challenges in times to just go beyond it and figure out what's the next step. And then that happens every now and then. Through history, we have seen so many different wars, so many different diseases, so many different hard times that humanity has been in danger, kind of like where we are today. In this era of COVID-19 and all of the uncertainties, all of the worries that it has created, guess what happens to our flow? Our flow gets stopped in certain directions and in certain ways. And then again, it's each one of us responsibilities that requires to just go forward and get beyond the wall of issues that come in front of us and don't allow us to reach where we want to reach. Sometimes we don't even know where we're going and we're just going with the flow. But then an intelligent person is directing this flow to a certain way. There are 9 assets of this flow that I have chosen to share with you, and positive psychology is using these universal forces of flow as an understandable position for having such flow. it's a little bit different than the flow that I'm discussing. The flow that I'm discussing is more general, and we're going to be talking about this pretty much in every program that we will have in different ways, because as you know, Wheel of Well-Being has 8 spokes, and these 8 spokes are based upon the flow. So the flow, as I said, physicality is the base of it, which we need to figure out what stops us from our physical comfort, physical happiness. If I have a backache, or if I have a heart problem, or if I have a headache, these are physical issues that need to be taken out of the way so I can process to the next level of my being, which is on my brain. And then how stressors, how confusion, how difficulties of clarifying positions can bring a fog into my mind, and how this flow is stopped again through my brain, through the processors of my nervous systems running into my brain, and the neurons that help me to get that information. So that is another way that the flow will be discussed in all of our programs. And then we get to our emotional lack of flow. When my feelings are stuck and I cannot really understand them, I cannot verbalize them, I cannot share it with my loved ones, then I'm going to be stuck within myself without the capability of sharing it with you or anybody else. And then I will just start getting down, decayed, wasted, out of the path of the flow, right? And then imagine in relationships, which we're going to be using a lot of our programs about relationships, because if there is no flow between you and I, our relationship is going to be stagnated. So again, I'm hoping that you're open to sending questions, asking any topic, any relevant subject that I can either answer or I can research and find the answers for you. I'm glad to use this time with you to clarify things that make us a better person, better individual, and then for that reason we have better relationship. Which this relationship now between you and your significant other, your spouse, is very important. If that flow stops, and then if our conversations with each other or the show of love to each other gets stopped, imagine how cold this relationship will be and how hard it is to bring it back to a place of lovingness, togetherness, and care, right? And then the next part of it is having fun. You know, if I cannot have fun, there's so many worries and so many concerns, so I stop really having a good time, then imagine how lack of happiness, lack of joy is going to be, I mean, I cannot say lack of joy, disconnection with our joy, because you're going to hear from me many times later that joy is in us. And again, that joy is obstructed. That joy is not within our flow right now. But then the happiness is another flow. And we can have this happiness exercised through responsible choices for our having fun. So let's say if you go biking, or if you go hiking, if you are spending some time in the nature or exercising, or even playing cards with someone, so that creates more of a flow in your day-to-day life. And then the next part of it is how we can be in this environment where we live. We all live in different parts of this world. We all have our own limitations based upon geographic locations that we have, based upon the climates that we have, based upon the cultures and governments that we have. It is not easy to have this flow universally at every time shared. So that's a responsibility to us and our environment, how to take the obstacles out of the way and create more flow and proximity as the result of it, and togetherness again as the result of it, within an environment that's healthy, inducive, loving, and caring, and practically useful to everyone, right? And then the next part is the joy that we were talking about. It's our way of connecting with this universe, who we are and how connected we are with the origin of this system, and how this joy that is a gift inside of us the flow of it can stop, and then we are going to be out of joy. We are going to be anxious, in fear, uncomfortable, and with lack of opportunities to go forward and enjoy life. Well, you see that how important that joy will be in all of our conversations, because this is high on the rank of importance among all of the areas that flow can be stuck. And the last, not the least, I think the most comprehensive one of all of these flows, we call it financial, but then financial is really productivity. As a person, we all desire to be productive, because the moment that we're stagnant, imagine everything that just we said can go wrong. If we are financially destitute, if our values or worthiness is not paid attention to, as a result of that, everything else can be shut down. Our physicality is going to be affected, our mental system, our emotions, our relationships, our even having fun and taking care of our environment, and even believing that there is some system that's valuable is going to be a little bit harder. So once we are in charge of life, we are being productive. We are able to create more positive outcomes, and wealth and success and money are just parts of this. As a human being, we would like to be capable of addressing all of this. For those of you who are not familiar with the Wheel of Well-Being yet, I'm encouraging you to take a look at the website of Wheel of Well-Being, as we have a wheel test which actually shows you where these blockages could be. So if you see yourself at a low scale on the spectrum of the wheel, on the 8 components that you have a very easy quiz on, then you know that the stagnations are somewhere, or there are some overflows in certain areas. And you want to balance this. The balance is the way that we do it. So let me give you these 9 points that I promised you. Our ability to balance challenges via our skills. So we need to learn our skills, and we're going to go over all of this every week in the way that we can. So we are adding our skills. Our awareness of the necessary action. What are we going to do next when we feel that we're stuck in a position? Setting clear goals for reaching results. We need to know where we're going. We need to have a plan for things, and then based upon that, we will go forward and create the results that we need. Receiving authentic feedback. If I don't hear from you, if I'm not understanding what I'm doing is regarded useful or not, in any case, any of you the same way. So how can you keep your flow in a positive way? So you need to have a feedback. Focus on the task that you're doing. So if we are focusing, then we can pay attention to all of the details, what is missing, what is extra, and through that focus, again, we can create more flow. Management. How do we manage situations? So management creates flow. Control restricts flow. And that's an important subject that we'll often discuss. How instead of being controlling, we need to let go and pull back and just play with it and manage it in a way that flow is created. And then bypassing the conscious mind. We touched upon this a little bit earlier. Generally, we're using our conscious mind. As I'm sitting here with you, if I use my conscious mind, there are a lot of things that are going to come to my mind. But when I trust my subconscious and I let it come from me in a way that is coming, and I'm not afraid of judgments, I'm not afraid of the way that other people may see me, that is being in that flow. So my words are coming out of flow because I'm bypassing the conscious mind. And the last one is to go beyond time. Time is limitation. If we understand that we are in the flow of time, then there is no worries about time. I appreciate your paying attention to this. All of these are going to be archived on the page of flow in this beautiful place that we are podcasting, Togetherness Media, with the help of Mr. Amir Lahiji. I'm able to bring you 2 programs every week from now on, and then we will have an archive of this information about flow that you can always use. Thank you, Mr. Lahiji, for this time, and I'm looking forward to our next meeting about flow and giving you more details about different parts of this important, I believe, the one direction of life that we need to be attended to. Thank you so much, and blessings.